So today we have with us a person who not only lives his life on his own terms, but has been inspiring thousands of people over the last 4 decades to believe that they cannot be limited by themselves or by society, and that magic will happen once they decide to see and say more and be and do more. He wears many hats with equal ease. As a counselor, he helps you find direction. As a trainer, he's known as a transformator for the magic he delivers and the incredible transformations he enables. As a coach, he has empowered countless people, including me, to become higher and better versions of themselves and court success in all walks of life. He believes that in order to create a successful personal and professional life, you have to master your mindset. Once you have, your future will be limitless. Today, he will unleash some of his hacks and how we can all move from limitation to expansion so that we can all love, learn, and leap higher. And I also want to add that he is the person responsible for my personal journey of moving from limitation to expansion. Please help me welcome Mr. Ian Faria.
Hey, thanks, Kavi.
It's lovely to see you, and thank you. You're the first man who's going to speak to all the women today, so you have a special duty to make us all resonate with you now. Over to you, Ian.
A lot of pressure on me now.
Yes.
So, Kavi, have you noticed I also wore a pink shirt? So
thank you so much. You've supported us beautifully with all the colors and all the videos. So thank you. Over to you.
Okay. So thanks very much, Kavi. Thanks for that beautiful introduction. And thanks for also sharing some secrets that, I was responsible in some way for bringing you out of the closet. Okay. That's just a joke, everyone. And I love to joke. Okay. So my topic is fabulous. Actually, I love this topic because it's from limitation to expansion. And let me tell you, that's the domain in which I work every single day. So what do I mean by limitation? Limitation is when you are constrained and you don't have much choice. And that happens mainly when you are in the reptile brain. That's our oldest, most primal brain. But it has only 4 responses: fight, flight, freeze, and appease. These 4 are not the thinking capability that we have. For that, we have to go to expansion. We have to go to our highest brain, the primate brain, and that's when we can actually get maximum benefit. So how do we get this in play? I'll tell you, very simple. So when we have this paradox, when we have a perplexing paradox, and I believe life is this eternal perplexing paradox, is it black or is it white? Is it day or is it night? Is he wrong or is he right? Or do I drink Pepsi or should I take a Sprite? Lots of different paradoxes. But some of the other paradoxes that might come our way are looking like this null-sum game. So for instance, do you want to crawl or do you want to fly? Do you want to laugh or do you want to cry? Are you waiting for a joshed up life? Or are you just waiting to die? Those are some of the choices that we are faced with every single day. But hold on a second, that's looking at life as a switch, as an on-off switch. So it's black or white, day or night. Why not we call it lots of shades of gray? Why don't we use the slider instead of the switch? The slider can give us whatever reading that we want. And I think that's going to be very important for all of us. So let's look at this from a practical point of view. Number 1, if you have to really make it big in life, you have to have multiple options. More options equals more power. Let's look at it from that point of view. If you want to do well in life, I will give you some stories and then you will see how people use their options and how they made a better life for themselves. So let's look at it. First story I want to tell you is from this young girl who came in from Delhi, very rich and affluent family, got married to a South Indian boy and was thinking everything will be hunky-dory for her until she realized that her in-laws were a little tougher than they looked on the first appearance. 1 year later, she is almost falling apart. And then she says, I need to do something about this. So she starts to push back. And in that pushback, she starts to become rude and arrogant at home. And she says, that's it. I've taken enough. I don't mind. If I have to go back to my home, I'm going there. And then her husband, who had one of my students from earlier in one of the colleges, he comes to me and says, sir, can you do something, save my marriage? And I talked to her and I made her see another dimension. I made her see reality in a different scape. And let me tell you, I told her, your parents are conservative, your in-laws are conservative. They were going to be like this, and you should have realized it before you came to Bangalore. Now it's a little late, but do one thing. They're nice people, right? She said, no, that way they're nice to everyone. So finally, I told her, change your paradigm. I gave her some tips and tricks. And 1 week later, she called me and she said, I want to take you out for dinner because you saved my marriage. And now all of a sudden, my in-laws are looking so much nicer, so much more loving and kind to me. And my husband loves me even more. Small shift. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. If you change the way you look at people, the people you look at change. So move from the switch, on-off switch, to black or white, wrong or right, to the slider. That's the first story I'd like to tell you. Now, that's the love portion of it. How do we love each other? So, the second part of it, now I want to share this with you. If you are operating from that fight-flight mode, you're actually operating from your wrong brain. So how do we go to the higher mode? We ask questions. We ask questions and we listen to understand. And in that, we start to think that there are other options. And therefore, I have more actions that I can take. It's so nice when you have options. But when you feel constrained, constricted, limited, you are bound to fail and you're bound to operate from the wrong brain. Let's move a little higher now. So how do we learn from this? Each of these experiences and each of the stories I tell you will teach you something, or you can learn something from it. Let's look at the great Brené Brown. She wrote a beautiful book. Her first book was a bestseller, Dare to Lead. But she also wrote another book very recently, and that's another classic, and you should all read that, especially as women. That's called The Atlas of the Heart, a beautiful book. But recently, 2 days ago, she released a podcast, and that podcast is fabulous. It's called Reflection of My Summer Sabbatical. Reflection of My Summer Sabbatical. Very deep, very emotional. Talks about all her struggles and strife in life and how she overcame the COVID issues and family issues and how she came out of it. But she said that her online community actually gave her that substance, that backing, that safety net to get her out of her problems. And very, very emotional. And this is a podcast so you can hear her voice. It's not just writing so you can't feel what's happening. Listen to that podcast. It's called Reflection of My Summer Sabbatical by Brené Brown. If she could come to this stage where she said she felt like she's at the edge of the cliff and she's going to fall off and be smashed forever, or she was trying to shake the trees and get all the shit out of it, she found that the trees were getting clean, but she was with shit all around her. Beautiful podcast. You must listen to it. But I learned from that even a person like Brené Brown, who's preaching to the world, who's talking to the world, writing to the world, could also have challenges. And I'm sure each of you here could have those challenges. But where do you go? She had an online community. You have SHEmantra. So I'm saying, I don't know, Shilpa and all of Alpa, Kavita, they've done an amazing job to just keep this group together and now to have this fabulous online seminar. This is the way forward. We need to collaborate rather than compete. In competition, you're going to get winners and losers, and we don't want a null-sum game. We want the slider. How many of us can win at one time? I think that's the question, and we can use collective intelligence to get there. Number 2, I want to share this other story with you. If you're thinking this happens only to young kids who are first year in marriage, or it happens to people who have reached a certain level and they have very high expectations of the world, no. There's this young girl. Her name is Niveda RM. You can check her out. She saw outside her home every day there was piles of garbage. She said she had one street, and she shows that picture many times. She has a street full of plastic and other waste. She talks about nappies, babies' nappies, sanitary pads, waste of food, and everything mixed up, and you can't even recycle that easily. So she tried, she thought, and she started her company in 2016. 6 years later, let me tell you, she's one of the most sought after entrepreneurs in the country. She's now valued at 40 million US dollars. That's about 320 crores. A young girl, still doesn't speak that fluently and other things, but a lot of passion. And she realized that step by step and curating her life, she's actually got to a much higher level. So much so that people are wanting to put money behind her. She's got some of the biggest names in industry to back her up financially. And she's going from strength to strength. Now she wants to be the number one entrepreneur in the world in this space of, saving the world through the solid waste and segregating it. She says she's reached a level now where they can segregate 95% of waste and reuse it. That's brilliant. She's not only making money, she's also saving the planet. Now, all these stories should give you some idea about where you could go. Yeah, I know you're going to come to times when you feel depressed, you feel dejected, you feel the world is against you. Even your friends, sometimes let you down. But you have to have someone you can approach. You have to have someone who's your best friend, who you can trust in a time of crisis. Somebody you know will never let you down. Do you have such a friend? If you're looking at it in a big group, you might get a lot of friends and they might give you some nice general advice. But let me tell you, you have to have one or two people that you can refer to even in the middle of the night. My big test for all the friends of mine is, if you have a crisis at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, how many people you can call who will come to your assistance? And most people answer quite honestly that maybe one, I don't know, maybe not even one. If you can have 5 friends like that who can come to your assistance anytime, you're already doing well on the planet. So I would like to urge you to do that. I think we have to now start to operate our higher brain. So that higher brain works on this. It works on how do we use knowledge? How do we gain knowledge every single day? If you're one day on the planet, you should have been one day smarter. What are you doing to make sure that you are smarter today? That's what I would like to ask all of you. Are you working with peer groups? Are you learning from your friends and people at your level? Are you learning from mentors or coaches? One of the things that I find is becoming very popular today is people are looking for good coaches. And you have a nice group here. I'm sure all of you will get a lot more work if you know how to position yourself well. On my side, I have a good track record. So people call me from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they want my assistance. You might not have that big a track record, but hold on. You can now leverage each other's capabilities and connections. You have to network well and you will reach there. Kavita is a network queen, so she will help you a lot in this dimension. Overall, I would like to end with this small quotation from a person I really respect and admire a lot. Her name is Maya Angelou, and she said something so simple but yet so powerful. She said this: I might forget what you said. I might even forget what you did. But I will always remember how you made me feel. And Shilpa talked about her feeling emotional. Women are emotional creatures by nature. You must know how to use that emotion. But don't stop at emotion and then go back to your reptilian brain. Use that emotion and catapult yourself to a higher brain. That brain is the brain where you can take your maximum decisions. So instead of hear and see or do and say, what you should be looking at is the higher level, which is now how do you analyze, rationalize? How do you visualize, fantasize? But finally, how do you actualize? Because unless you take action, nothing happens. So on that nice note, I want to wish you all the best. If you're like this young girl from Delhi, or if you're Brené Brown looking at the cliff and the fall, or if you're looking at life from the eyes of a creator, like Niveda. Each of you has greatness within you. My serious urge to all of you is use this network, learn from each other, learn every single day, and let's all put our heads together sometime to make this world a much better place. I wish you all the best. May you love, may you learn, and may you take that big leap when you have to be the best you. So I wish that your life becomes a success. May all your dreams become your reality, and may you become who you were destined to be. On that nice note, I hand back to Kavita.